Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us today. I hope you can hear us in the back. Is it okay? I'm not used to speak very loud, but I'm not going to speak much today because this whole meetup is about Notion. Thank you so much for organizing this for us today. You will introduce yourself, obviously. Thank you for being here. This is an event part of the No Code Week Barcelona. There's a lot of events. There's a software event for lunch. There's a Tally meetup, Tally and friends. We're very lucky to have you also. So we hope you will also join us for those events. We'll have a breakfast. We'll have a chance to talk. There's French people, Spanish people, people from everywhere. We will speak in English today, unless you speak French. So also we can help. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you. We're live on Twitch, also on the French Twitch channel, No Code Friends. And please, thank you for being us.
Thank you so much for inviting us. I'm Alejandra. I'm the 50% of Notionología. This is a project in which we share information and educational resources about Notion in Spanish. And we also are giving consultancies to companies and doing some courses for educate more people in Notion. I was previously a financial consultant, but right now I'm doing only Notion consultancy. And this is Daniel. This is another 50 part of Notionología.
Yeah, I was a lawyer before. Now I am a no-code maker since 2 years ago, so a long ride. And we are happy to be here. Thanks to Alexis to Stan for inviting us here. And Alejandro is going to give you a bit of a talk about Notion and how you can enhance the power of Notion with a tool that's called Grid.
Yeah, we prepare a very small presentation about a use case using Notion and Grid. And I know most of you know Notion, but not all of you know Grid. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But at the end, you can ask any questions also that you want, and we are going to do some networking to talk with each other, and that's why we're here. So I hope you enjoy the press and also the presentation. We're going to start. Everyone here knows Notion? Everyone? Yes, there's someone that doesn't know Notion? No? Okay. As you can see, Notion is a very flexible tool. It can be used for almost anything. Of course, most of the people use Notion for note-taking, habit trackers in the personal way, but also companies use Notion as a source of truth to have everything in Notion. But as you can see, you can use it as you wish. Has a CRM, a productivity tool, a sales hub, planning all the company internal processes, has a project manager, notes directory, very flexible tool. And what we have seen in the Notion environment for companies, for instance, is that there are like two ways in which you can use Notion. There are companies that have a general, that use Notion as a general thing for all the departments and all the processes in the company. But there are also companies that are trying to use Notion as modules. And this is a very flexible way of using and to adopt Notion in the organization, because you don't have like all your employees adopting the tool at once, but you are building solutions for a specific pain point. So the example that we're going to show today is more in this second side, in which you use Notion to solve a pain point, and you don't need like a full adoption of the tool at the beginning for the company. So we're going to see some purchases control system just for you to get to know more about Notion and more about Grid. Okay, before that, we are going to present also what is Grid. Grid combines the power of spreadsheets that you can see over here and the text editor. As we see in some Notion use cases is that you get like the middle part of the building to build things in Notion, but sometimes you are missing a step before, which is capturing information, that you can solve that with Tally. Actually, we will talk about that in the afternoon. But then you are also missing another point at the end, which is reporting or presenting that information. So what we think is that Grid solves that endpoint in the workflow when you are using Notion. So what this does is that you can bring different information and you can use that information using the grid sheet over here. So you don't have like a static way of using that information. You bring that in Notion or in Excel, and then you have a space over here to work with that information and then present that data in a very dynamic way. For instance, in this example, you can move these sliders and the data will move according to that. So it's a more interactive way of using the data, and you can bring your Notion data here also. I think here is a video, not before. This is a small video how to show you that it's very easy to use Grid if you already have the data there. Like you can only select the information and select a graph, and you have the graph created. So it's a more visual way of showing your data. And now we are going to quickly present like the use case that we have prepared, which is purchases control system. We're going to show you how to use Notion and connect that with Grid. And if later you want to see the Notion page, here we can show you that in the computer. There is no problem. Okay, so I hope you can see this. As I told you, you can come later to see this more specifically here in the computer. But we have a very simple dashboard in Notion that only is using two databases, one for the purchases and one for the vendors. And we have here the orders that are happening now and the vendors that are happening now, things that you need to see every day. And over here, we have two buttons, quick actions. This is a very new Notion feature, and it is really helpful because you can start like to use automations within Notion. So here we only have two, which is create a new order. What this does is just to add a new page in the purchases database. That's all it does. And add a new vendor. What is that? That does is adding a new page in the vendors database. So that's very easy. And then we have a management section in which we have the same databases over here, but filtered in a lot of ways, so we can give more context when you are using those databases. So this is like a very simple example on how to create a purchase system in Notion, but this is actually a very lean example of something that we did for a company that is a logistic company that have a very huge purchasing system. This is a very lean example, but we get to solve a lot of pain points about this for a very big company using this same example. And if you want to see a little bit more about the purchases database and the vendors database, it has very general properties like an ID for each order, the status if the order is received, etc. A type if you have orders for food, orders for electrical appliances, something like that. When the order was placed, when it was received, if there is a manager, notes, if you want to attach invoices. And here also are some numbers, for instance, the total invoice, if there is a payment pending or advance, and a tax. Very simple in general, but as I told you, this has been applied for a very big logistic company in the same way. And of course, you have in the vendors information about the vendors, email, phone, notes. And the only relationship that is built in this system, because it's very simple, is that each order is related to a vendor. So you can have all that information connected. And within the page of each order, we also have some linked database to show you a very like more information about the vendors related to that order. You have the final vendors over here in a linked database, and also a full database of the vendors if you need to search for something in that page. If you want to upload the budgets, have some notes. And here, I don't know if you can see that, but you also have 3 buttons which you can click. These are quick actions. If the order will place, if the order was received, or if the order was closed. I know we have more status for an order, but these 3 buttons really get like that quick action for you to don't forget to mark an order as complete, for instance. And we are going to see a little bit more about what we have here in the management dashboards. We have almost the same dashboard as here, but we have more tabs. So you have like more information here. And what we do over here is like we usually, before we know about grid, what we did was using the Kanban board to see some statistics or some analytics regarding things in Notion, but it's not that visual. Because you need to know Notion to know that the number here is giving you information. Because this number can be counting how many items you have there, but there also can be counting if that order is complete. It can be a percentage too. So you need to know Notion to know that this side over here is giving you information. The same over here. You can have information related to the time, like weekly or monthly, but it's not that visual because you need to open the toggle, you need to know what is this number. So it's not that visual. And we saw that with grid. So what we have in grid is that you can bring the information from Notion and you have that information like in tabs over here. But the real power of this tool is that you have the grid sheet over here in the corner. And what you do with this is that you can bring information from Notion that is more order, and you can group that information. You can really work with that information because this information is static, because you have it from the API in Notion, but you cannot change anything from here. You need to change everything from Notion. But the grid sheet, what allows you with some general formulas like the ones we use in Excel, is that you can really work with the information. And with some formulas, very basic formulas, you get this type of information that is more visual. So this is a little bit more of how the formulas look in grid. You have here like a query function, and what this is doing is that it's only grabbing information from the columns that you have in grid, but from the Notion source. So you are selecting a column and zooming like another column and then grouping by another column. So it's really easy because you only need to work with those columns. So this is a very lean example of a very of a system that solves a lot of time for a company. So this is what you have in Notion. You don't have like any information that is visual. If you want to go to a database to know some things, what you have is this, a big table. You can have all the views that you want, but in general, that will be a huge table like that. And what we achieve with grid is something like this, a better reporting, a more visual reporting. You have the information link. If you change something in Notion, it will automatically also change in the graph over here. As you can see, the amounts are the same. And you have that more visual there, has a supporting visual aid. These are another examples. You can also have more visual information about the type of orders that you are having, how are your vendors, if they're active in review new or your purchases. And with a little bit of formula in the grid sheet, you also can have more information related to trends, like here that you have in April, in June, so you can see all that information and identify trends. And if you want to have an historical also to identify, for instance, where you are ordering more or something like that, you also can have this type of graphs in grid. So this is really interesting. And I think it helps a lot because you have like a more boosted reporting system in a very simple example in Notion. So that's all for this use case. As I told you, it was very quick, it was very simple, but I think it can give you like an overview of how you can connect Notion with Grid. As I told you, I think Grid solves the endpoint of a Notion workflow, just as Tali it's solving the first thing, which is capturing information. So I think with these tools, if you play with that, you can really have a better like reporting system using Notion. So that's all for our presentation. Thank you. Yeah. If you have any questions regarding Notion, Grid, presentation, you are welcome to talk.
Can you insert a visualization from Grid into Notion?
Yeah, here is a question that if we can insert a visualization of Grid into Notion. Yes, it's very simple because in Grid you have a link, and that link you can embed the link in a Notion page. Actually, this is a Notion page, and those are embeds. Thank you.
What's
Any
the
other
pricing
question?
of Grid? I haven't looked at it.
The pricing. Okay, we can put that over here. The pricing of Grid, there is a free account that you can create. I think you have all the graphs that you want. What you don't have are things like for design. You cannot change colors if you are in a free account. I think that's one of the things that you have in the paid account. Yeah, but it's not that expensive, I think.
$29 per month.
Yeah, 29, and you get custom colors, more document sharing features. Yes.
I think you might have answered the question, but I don't remember. Is Grid integratable with other type of applications like Airtable, etc., or there's only one data source that is Notion?
Okay, yeah. The question was that if Notion is integrated with another tools. Yes, you can bring information from, I think, numbers. You can bring information from Airtable too. They have a lot of integrations, not only Notion, which is really cool because you have one place for having that information, but you can have multiple tabs that are multiple sources.
Any more questions?
Yes.
Related to your example in the vendors and to track the sales, this information you got it manually to Notion? Or it's connected with,
Yeah, the question is that if the vendor's database is connected with another tool, right? Or if it's using manually. In this link example, it's using manually because I made this for the presentation, but in the real example, the real logistic company, it's the information is coming from another source, and actually, yeah, from Holded. It's an integration that Daniel made. But we are kind of actually trying to onboard them to Tally because they are receiving orders in a very messy way, like from WhatsApp, from Gmail. Like there is not a system for that. So we're trying to onboard them to Tally so they can just fill out the form and the information will get automatically there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Enjoy the breakfast and yeah, let's
And talk. Thanks.